Thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile those who have overcome or those who are in the process of overcoming any life topic. We have three objectives with this podcast series. Our first objective is we want you to know that whatever you're experiencing in life, whatever you're encountering, you're not alone. We want to join you to let you know that we together can help you through whatever challenge you may have that at the time may seem too difficult to be able to overcome. Our second objective is to help you determine with a very confident resolve there are multiple solutions, multiple factors involved in any life encounter. It's a matter of thinking into and thinking through the life situation you are encountering to determine the various options, the various solutions that are available to you. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If whatever you're experiencing is a result of a decision you made sometime in the past, such that if you had a life redo, you would make a different decision, we want to help you determine the objective facts and factors to evaluate to help you reach a more informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture, and the Cooper Culture is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Maureen Gemme for a third episode, where she talks about making good decisions. She has been through a life of addiction, and you'll learn 10 years of her life where she did not make good choices, and she experienced the consequences of that. But she's passing forward her life experiences in helping others to make good decisions. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Maureen in this podcast?
Ron, Maureen's podcast to me is so helpful. Many lessons Maureen has learned, and she's passing on to those that are struggling. So if you're having an addiction or any other challenge right now, listen to this podcast because there are many lessons that you can learn on how to overcome through what Maureen gave to us today.
And Marty, one of the topics she discussed is limiting beliefs. Some of us just don't have enough confidence in ourselves to take on different things, to accomplish different things. Maureen is going to talk to us about how we can make good decisions, how we can overcome anything from the past that is keeping us from achieving our very best. Let's listen and learn together. Maureen, thank you so much for joining us for a third episode. You have life experience that our listeners need to gain from your insights, your wisdom. Let's talk about choices that people make. You have been through a life of addiction. I encourage our listeners to listen to your first podcast where you described what life used to be. But now I think, Maureen, you're in a better position to make good choices. And I think you're passing forward your life lessons learned that you can help us make good choices as well. But we're very interested in your insights. Maureen, thank you very much for joining us for a third episode.
Thank you, Ron and Marty. I'm really happy to be here again with you because you do have such interesting topics and things I love to talk about.
Let's talk about, it is a bit of leadership topic, but it is a matter of, from my perception, a disciplined mindset. How can we make better choices? And I think in part of what I'm asking is, how can we avoid, or how can we not be under the influence of negative people, but rather be above those kind of things? I hope I'm making sense to you, Maureen, but I think you are the right person to address this topic.
Thank you. Yes, I think I understand your question. You're basically asking, how can we become more aware of who might be influencing us and how I make choices based on what I want or what I think other people want of me and that sort of thing. I was raised in a family, a large family, and my dad actually became an alcoholic. We didn't really think he had much of a problem, but when I turned about 11 years old, our house burnt down. He said that, something sparked from the TV and I don't know, electrical issue and it started the couch on fire. I think he fell asleep with a cigarette, basically. That was a huge turning point in my life, in my young life at the time. And then as I became more aware of who I was and trying to figure out who I was, I became a drug addict and an alcoholic. But at 14 years old, it became very clear to me how much my dad drank because I was watching it. And I remember thinking, I will never be like him. I will not be like him. That's not going to happen to me. And sure enough, I became an alcoholic too, not realizing, that I don't know if it's a gene in me or not. I really don't. Now, my background is Irish, Scottish, and I do think that there are a lot of, obviously, we know about how Irish people are drunks. I mean, that was a big thing, right? When they came over here on the boats and all during the 20th century, that there was a lot of that, drinking going on to escape, or maybe it's just a propensity. We also have heard about that, right, with the Native Americans and so forth. But the thing is about any choices anywhere, you don't realize you are being controlled or manipulated, or that choices are out of your control when you have a victim mentality. Before you are consciously aware, then you're a victim. When we're busy blaming other people, places, and things for our discomfort, for our addictions, for our state of being, all of it, we're victims. Now, when we're children growing up, that's basically, there's no choices there, right? Like, I was born and raised in a white Irish Catholic, sort of middle class, but my grandparents were upper class. So I had some privilege, right? I had opportunities that probably somebody else who was Black or Asian or, different people have different opportunities in their own culture or what our culture has put on us. But what I'm trying to say is, when you become an adult, if you continue to always look outside yourself for this source of your pain or discomfort or how things are in your life, then you will always be a victim. I use those terms very loosely, very generally, but until you start looking within, you are not going to be making your own choices. Your own choices are made by your subconscious mind and how you were programmed and how you were raised in many cases. And so a lot of that difference in, starting to wake up, it usually happens from some extreme pain in your life, some disaster that's happened, or some major transformation. Maybe it's a health problem, you almost died. And there's a lot of things that turn people around to say, I'm going to start taking charge of my own life. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to make different choices. Does that resonate? Are you on the same page, or do you have some questions?
You are right on target, Maureen. I am very interested. I'm going to ask you a question about your life that I think relates to exactly what you're saying. Is it your life experience that you became an addict by your choice? That is, you're not blaming your dad, you're not blaming your mother, it's not the family that, quote, got you sucked into or otherwise made you make that choice. But really, in hindsight, as you have evaluated yourself, your life experience, was it actually a choice that you made? And as you have become more aware of yourself, you understand maybe why you made that less than good choice?
Yes and no, because nobody at 14 or 13 chooses to, I'm going to start drinking so I can become an alcoholic. Like, it wasn't the end goal. My choice to drink and to drug and to smoke cigarettes and to take pills was to, number one, feel better, escape my own pain, and number two, fit in, because that's what everybody else was doing. So I was motivated by wanting to fit in. I was motivated by my tears. I, quote, fell into the wrong group. Now, I could have followed a different group. I could have tried to fit in somewhere else, But because of my own internal upbringing and beliefs and trying to figure out who I was, I was attracted to the cool, what I thought were the cool kids who were using and drinking and drugging. And I don't know why I was attracted to that, but that was definitely a choice with me. I wasn't into sports. I didn't want to go to the game, although those people are all drinking too, So I'm not really sure, is that a choice? Yeah, I think it is. You do decide what group you want to kind of fall into, but at the same time, we're all attracted to different things based on our needs, our need for belonging, right? And our need for connection with other people. And if we feel like we have something to offer those people, like with a connection myself, or, my funny personality or whatever it is, or my body even, right? Because we are all, as teenagers, we're all interested in developing our sexuality, like who we're attracted to. That stuff is not in your reasoning brain. You don't really have developed your frontal cortex lobe yet to make those decisions. They're mostly emotional decisions. Does that make sense? So although they're, quote, choices, they're based on our emotions, not our logic or reasoning.
I understand exactly where you're coming from, Maureen. I'm a very elementary person. I want to see if I have processed what you just said correctly. We have a very fundamental need for connected relationships. We want to be accepted. And sometimes we will go wherever those people are who want to connect. We feel accepted, even though, if I can use a Garth Brooks expression, even if they're friends in low places, if they accept me and I feel connected with them, I may choose to go there. Did I synthesize what you said correctly?
Yeah, because it's our, that need to belong, right? We want to fit in with whatever it is who we think we are. And then we can revamp all of that once we get into maturity and we start making better, more reasoned choices. But even then, sometimes we start making reasoned choices because other people have control over us and they think that they know the best path for us. And so they start putting all those, seeds in and constantly encouraging or pushing us towards like a certain way of living, or they'll also, they want to see us succeed in business, right? So we get a certain college degree, but most of the time we make choices simply to belong. If you're, in a gang, for example, gangs, they offer some real terror and discomfort, but they also offer belonging and significance. If you don't have that at home, or if you don't have that anywhere else, you can see how easy it would be to fall into that. So I think up until a certain point in your life, you're making choices, but you are almost I don't want to use the word victim, but just you're caught in the flow of what's happening in your life. And you make different choices along the way, thinking or feeling like this is probably going to be best for me, or it seems right at the time, or it's going to be fun. But then it's facing the consequences that are so damaging. And honestly, it's the consequences that help us to become the people we're really meant to be and to find our purpose in life.
Talk to our listeners and Marty and me what the process was, if it was a process that seems to have changed your mindset from a 14-year-old to the very mature mindset you have right now. Were you able to change that mindset by yourself? Was it a relationship, a mentor, something that helped you do that? Because some of our listeners are going through exactly what you're describing. And I need to make better choices in life, but I'm not sure I know how to do that.
I don't think anyone can really go through this alone and develop fully and in a mature way with emotional intelligence, right? We are very connected in so many different ways as human beings, and we need love, and we need approval and significance and connection, we also need to do personal growth. And in the beginning for me, Ron, my experience was I got sober at 24, which is pretty young, but I already had a lot of life experience, and I've already been to what I consider to be hell on earth. And I had gotten so low emotionally, self-esteem was totally in the toilet. Like I despised myself. Like I could not even stand at all who I was. So how did I grow out of that and through that? Was it with my own devices? Hell to the no. It's like, no, I needed a lot of help. I needed to go to a 12-step program. I got therapy. I had a therapy group. I had a sponsor, and I've read thousands of books. I've attended hundreds of courses, and I've gone to conferences, and I've just done so many programs. I've spent easily even just in the past 20 years, about $150,000 on my own personal growth and development.
Oh, wow.
And that's including college, because I didn't go back to school until I was in my 40s, right? And by then I had already had 15 years of sobriety. I raised a family, but I've had coaches, I've had mentors. And so all of the things that I've learned about myself, yes, there's a lot of information you can get and put into your brain, but until you really go within, until I should just speak for myself, until I went within and started to understand not only how my mind works, but how my feelings within my body work, how to listen to my intuition, how to change my perceptions, how to use my will or willpower and discipline myself, also how to use my imagination and my reason and my logic. Now, these are all the things that make up the 6 different aspects of higher level thinking or in your brain. And that I learned from Bob Proctor. I learned that from another person, a mentor, a coach, but I had to integrate it. I had to think about it. I actually, designed a practice of meditating every morning, exercising my body, listening to my intuition, writing in my journal. And I did that because I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. There's different people that have given me the tools. I just read and have practiced and put into practice those principles, because you can read and watch a ton of stuff, and if you never do anything about it, your life's not going to change. You have to change what's internal, and then the outer experiences change. It's really an amazing process, because we're all, what I believe, co-creators. So I've created an amazing life for myself, but only because I stayed sober, because I stopped, I gave up that habit of addiction to escape, because that's just an escape.
Maureen, that's very insightful, and I appreciate your sharing that very insightful part of your life. For the approximate 10-year period from 14 to 24, where you had gone through that phase of life, was there, I'm going to use the term, an epiphany, so to speak? In other words, had you hit such a low point that you said, I cannot continue this way? Or did another person intervene in your life and say something to the effect, Maureen, you have a lot more value to your life than continuing the way you are? What was the turnaround point, if there was? Because some of our listeners are at a point in their life that say, I'm just about at that low point. Did you yourself on your own, or was it a Bob Proctor type person who helped turn you around? Can you help that person?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I think I'm gonna call that like our angels, our inspirations, our God, a higher source, and divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. It comes to us in many, many different ways. It might come through somebody doing an intervention on you, telling you how much they love you and they want to see you turn your life around. It might come in the form of a car accident. It might come in the form of some weird anomaly thing, or a dream even. And you wake up one morning and you're just like, I'm done living this way. I'm going to turn it over. That there is no rhyme or reason for how it can come to you, Ron. I think that we as individuals can see what's happening in somebody else's life, tell them how much we love them and we want them to, get on the straight and narrow, let them know, but you may or may not be the person that turns them around, right? You can there's only so much you can do. But from the other side of the coin, I will tell you what happened to me. What happened to me is a series of events had happened to me, and it was all crap. It was all bad things. I broke up with a boyfriend that I had been with for 2 years. I broke up with him because I wanted this other, because I was always looking for men to fix me, men to make me feel okay, like I was, okay with who I was. And then I broke up with him because I wanted to be with this other guy. And then as soon as I broke up with him, the other guy wasn't interested in me. He didn't want me. So suddenly I'm on my own. And I moved in with a girlfriend who we were drinking together all the time. And I had a series of really bad things happen to me, just weird stuff. I won't go into all the details, but I will tell you, I met somebody that I fancied myself in love with, and I really admired who he was. And he told me about this amazing experience that he had by leaving the comfort of the people that are in his world and just going out into the world and exploring, and he found out who he was. And that really appealed to me. Like, I figured how I can fix myself is I can leave. Like, the reason I'm so screwed up is because of Connecticut, right? Or the place that I live, or my family. So I left and I went to Texas. And do you know that I started off really strong and positive? I got a good job. I was working as a teller in a bank. And then within a year, all of the same crap started to happen in my life. People that were dissing me, not showing up when I needed to, not being dependable, like all this stuff that made me feel really bad. And I realized the only common denominator between Connecticut and Texas was me. So suddenly I had some sort of a wake-up call that said, you are the problem. And I got myself a book, and it was a personal growth book. It was called Think and Grow Rich. And I was attracted to the title because I thought money was what was going to fix me. And it was all about an internal transformation. And as I started to do that work of thinking differently, nothing in my life changed because I was still doing the habit. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to give up drinking and drugging, and I need help with that. And I had already, so I had done some other things. So it was a series of things, but mostly it was because I recognized myself in that book. I recognized myself as an addict because I had all the things that addicts have. I hated myself. I hated my job. I hated where I lived. There was this hate thing going on, and I can't even stand the word hate. I hate the word hate. Like, I wanted love in my life. I wanted peace. I wanted friends. I wanted a career. I wanted more, but I couldn't figure out how to get there. So that's when I finally, I had the transformation. So it wasn't any one thing. It was like a series of things that took me to my bottom. And then also being inspired by the book and by that guy that was in Connecticut that told me to leave. And that, I think, were two critical sort of turning points that helped me to see that life can be a whole lot better. Does that make sense? You see how it happens? Sometimes I've heard hundreds of stories, and every single time it's different. It's not just one thing.
Who possibly right now comes to mind as Maureen describes herself and what to me appears to be the uncertainty of what her value is, what her life might be, who she fits with, who even cares about her. She is apparently uncertain of her potential. But let me ask you right now, who comes to mind who may fit some portion of Maureen's profile as she is describing it, The person who's not living just by your discernment, not judging, but by your discernment, may not be living their full potential. I think there were those who saw Maureen, just knew intuitively. They knew through their discernment. Maureen is not living her full potential, and they helped Maureen sort through some of the negative thinking, some of her limiting beliefs to help her reach today her full potential. I want to encourage you, reach out to a person, be intervening, have the courage to develop a relationship with, have the courage, the temerity, and the caring heart to reach out to that person and help them over whatever low points they're experiencing to help them live their full potential. Yes, and I appreciate you sharing your life, Maureen. For our listeners, book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, he has an expression that I resonate with so much. I don't know that he originated it, but it's the first time that I saw it. Within every adversity lies the seed of an equal or greater benefit. It doesn't matter what adversity we are experiencing. I believe with the right mindset, Maureen, we can find the positive in everything. There's an equal or greater benefit in anything we are experiencing. Sometimes it takes someone else to help us think and dig deeper to find that something positive. But Maureen, it sounds like through your very valuable life experience, you have developed, I'm not sure you would refer to it as a 6-step process, but you named 6 principles, 6 attributes that can help us live a more fruitful life, my term, but living what you just described can help us reach a better decision process. Am I processing that correctly?
Yes. In fact, I believe there's a couple of things I believe, and that is the answer to all of our problems everywhere for anyone, no matter who you are, or where you come from, all lies within you, in your brain, in your head. Okay. That if you don't get that in order, then you're going to continue to stay addicted. You're going to continue to make bad choices. You're going to continue to fall down the rabbit hole sometimes, right? So when I finally got a handle on my addiction, I turned my will and my life over to my higher power as I understood him, even though it wasn't a very good or loving higher power at the time. I've changed it quite a bit since I first started. It still was a bit of a surrender. And the oxymoron about surrender is that suddenly you have a whole lot more power when you can surrender to whatever you want to call that higher powers, even if it's just love. I surrender to love. Okay. And then as I continued to grow and learn, I realized that all of my problems are in between my ears, right? In my head. I started to study about how to think and the law of attraction and things like that, and realize that what you focus on does expand. And so if you're focusing on negativity all the time, you're going to continue to get more negativity. But as I could started to really understand what I was thinking, what I was believing, what I was allowing myself to ponder all the time were not the right questions, and they were not the right ways or correct streams of thinking. So I'm going to share the 6 different ways of the brain and how it works. And then I'll sort of just give you a brief indicator of each one and how you can use that to better your focus in your life. So the first one is imagination, right? We can use it for good or we can use it for bad. If you're constantly running on the stories in your head about how somebody wronged you and you're not letting go of that, then you're just going to continue to get more negativity. But if you use your imagination to think of where you want to be in the future and how you're going to get there or what adventure might await you and be excited about that, that's a great way to use sort of daydreaming or visualizing, right, techniques to use your imagination to create a better way. The second one is intuition. And we all have a still small voice within us that I believe is connected to the divine. is connected to that source of all that is. That's a beautiful, creative love. You can call it, Jesus Christ, you can call it Lord or God or source or the universe or higher self, Holy Spirit. You can call it whatever you want. But that is, you are a bit of that. You have that divine, and you have an inner guidance system, right? That guides us, that will tell us. And most people, even addicts, in their worst, degradation of humanness possible, knows their inner voice will tell them, don't walk into that house right now. You should not be going in there. Like, we know, we have that inner knowing. And it's not just like fear, but it could be telling you. Okay, so that's your intuition. You have to turn down your mind chatter and listen to that still small voice more. And then your life becomes incredible. The third one is memory, and also the use of your senses. Some people think, oh, well, I just have a really bad memory. And other people have a great memory because they believe that, they practice it. Memory is like will. You have memory power when you practice thinking back on the good experiences in your life, not the bad ones, but the good ones. And you can shift some of those memories too, from pain to, okay, this is an adversity that I think I can get an equal or greater benefit to, right? Like Napoleon Hill said. And it's so you can use your memory and your senses for good, for positive ways. Number 4 is reason or logic. Now, a lot of times we use our reason and our logic to make decisions in our life, depending what kind of personality type we have. But the truth is, logic or reason can sometimes hold you back because fear is mixed in there. Our logic says, oh, well, you might not get support from your biggest fans if you do this action, or you might not, the fear stops us. It stops us a lot. So we have to learn to separate sometimes what is fear and what is logic, and how does it integrate with that still small voice. The 5th one is perception. Perception is both a conscious and a subconscious mind function. What gets through our perception is determined by what agrees with our beliefs and what our mind believes is important to us, which is basically our values. So it's our beliefs and our values. So if we don't have a belief or a value in something, we might not even have any perception of it. We get billions of data coming in at us from all sides, at all directions, at all times, right? And our mind or in subconscious, it filters through all that crap and says, well, what do I believe and what do I value? That's what comes through. So if you're really focused on all of the violence that's happening in the world, and you believe that that's really important, you're going to see stories about that everywhere. It's always going to come through to you. I don't have that happening in my life because I don't want to focus on that stuff. So it doesn't really get to me. I don't watch the news. I know that if it's really important, somebody will tell me. I'll hear about it, with the big things that happen. And then I can pray and send good, kind thoughts or whatever. But my perceptions are very different because I worked at what I focus on, and I changed a lot of my beliefs about what I really wanted to have in my life. And the last one is will. We focus on our willpower. Some people say, well, I have no willpower, and other people have like lots of willpower. But it's just a muscle, just like the memory. Willpower is a muscle. And if you have a desire to change, like say a bad habit in your life, then you have to exercise your willpower muscle for a certain amount of time until it becomes a habit. And then you don't need, quote, willpower. It's just a habit and you just do it now, right? So it's like working out or anything like that. That will is, if once you create a discipline, like I at first, when I first started meditating, it was really hard. It took a lot of will for me to sit down for 10 minutes every morning and do this, because I couldn't turn off all my mind chatter. And it felt like I was failing and blah, blah, blah. But once I stopped judging myself for what was going on in my mind, I started to observe it. And I was able to, quote, like separate myself from that voice in my head. And then I could see who I really was. And now I can be centered. I can meditate for 20 minutes every morning and really enjoy quiet time in my head. But until I had that discipline or practice, it took some willpower. So that's how we use the will. But the more we learn, we get into recovery, and whatever we've overcome, we learn to use our imagination for good, not negative. Change the stories that you're telling yourself and what you're visualizing. Listen more to your inner voice, your intuition, because you know what's right or wrong for you. What might not be the same for anybody else, but for you it would be. And then you also can use your memory and your senses in the right way, your reason and your logic, separate it from the fear stuff, your perception, you'll have to change your beliefs and your values to upgrade your identity. And then also using your will to create those habits in your life that really line up with that identity. That was kind of a long-winded way to go through that. I'm sorry, I do talk a lot sometimes.
No, Maureen, that's very important. I think one of the things our listeners, Marty and I, need to reckon with, I'll use that term, is there's not necessarily a fast or easy solution to what I'm going to call limiting beliefs. If I have a low self-confidence, if I am self-declared a victim, it takes a little while to reverse that mindset, to transform, if I can use that term, that mindset that, yep, you've been in that environment, you've been around those people, or whatever description might be. It might take some time, a process, that there is no quick one conversation necessarily that's going to turn this mindset around. But if you have the will to reverse the direction you're going, or at least transform it, you can. I don't want to say things that are not what you know to be true, Maureen, but that's how I'm processing what you're saying.
No, I love what you're saying, because and what it brought to my mind was there's never a quick fix to this. This is the work. This is what we call, right, the work, digging down into yourself. It is not an overnight cure. It is a one day at a time kind of thing. That's why we have one day at a time for addicts and stuff. We're not trying to fix something that's happening 6 months. We're just dealing with today. And I say to all my new clients or newcomers that I meet that are just starting out, two things. One is stop judging yourself. Like, just let yourself have a crappy day if that's what you need to do, or feel your emotions. Stop judging yourself for whatever comes up, because we've been stuffing it for so long. A lot of that crap is going to come up. So be gentle with yourself. Have compassion for yourself. And then the second thing is, you want to take steps right away to start changing that. Listen to affirmations while you're going to sleep. There is an app called, you can get it on your phone, Insight Timer. It's free. You can listen to it all day if you want to, but it's free. And if you get onto Insight Timer and just plug one earphone, or just leave it running next to your, bed as you fall asleep. But if you're sleeping with someone else, you probably want to put an earbud in or something. And just allow yourself to fall asleep while you're listening to these affirmations. It will sink into your subconscious. It will begin to reprogram who you are. It will start to change those neural pathways. And that is the consistency. Doing that sort of work consistently will really, really help you. And one other tool that is just rocks and is so awesome, and you've all heard it before, but it bears repeating: gratitude. Look at what's good in your life. This is using your focus and your mind and perceptions, all of it. It's using your imagination to focus on what is good. write down 3 things every single night that you're grateful for that happened during the day or that you experienced. Even if it's just, I'm just grateful to shut my eyes and be on this bed. It doesn't matter, right? But more you focus on gratitude and what you're grateful for, the more you'll get in your life, and things will start to change, and you'll be like, wow, that person doesn't bother me so much anymore. They've really changed. No, it's you. It's you. When you start changing, everybody else seems to get better.
For the listener who might be saying something to the effect right now, this is a divine appointment that I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm listening to Maureen Ross Gemme and the 6-step process, what she has been through. I need to go through something like that. It's not a quick turnaround, but it's a process. Do you have any type of course, a book to read, anything that our listeners can engage in, Maureen, that person who says, I feel like this could be a new start. I just need to know where to go to get that new start?
Thank you, Ron. Yes, I do have a book, and it is called Emerge, 7 Steps to Transformation, no matter what life throws at you. And you can find that on Amazon. And I turned that book into a course, which is called Recovery at Work, which you can find on my website at emergeleadershipacademy.com. I also have a podcast, Emerge, Evolve, Lead podcast. And I send out a newsletter every week for, to keep people inspired and to give steps for really strengthening your inner leadership so that you can begin to be a role model for others. Or if you are already good at doing that inner leadership, stepping up and helping to develop other people, because that's the way we really make an impact in the world. And thank you so much for bringing that to people's attention, because there's a lot of tools. Like I said, I did all that studying, read all those books and all those courses, and I took what I found was the best process that worked for the most people, and I put it all into a book, and then I got it into a course. So that's what I do. I believe that's my purpose now, because it's our light that we really need to learn to shine. And once you do give up the addiction, once you do stop escaping, you have so much to offer to the world. And that inner work will make you unstoppable. You can create anything you want. And it's really a joy to be in the world in this way.
Maureen, on behalf of our listeners, I want to thank you for passing forward your life experience, how that higher power, as you have described, Marty and I frequently describe that as Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But you've been taken out of a life that maybe did not, and I feel certain did not, have the hope that you have now. And through your 10 years of possibly a life of lower hope, you're passing forward to others what you have learned, and others, by following your life experience, your life wisdom, too, do not need to experience the low points you've been through, but you have learned from your past, and you're passing forward the very best of your life past and helping people to live that better life. And I just love the fact that you have overcome and you're passing forward what you have learned. So on behalf of our listeners, Maureen, thank you so much for sharing and providing hope to many of us who are listening right now.
Thank you so much, Ron, for even having this podcast to begin with, to highlight all the ways that people can grow. So blessings to you both for doing the light work in the world. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I want to appeal to you in 3 different ways as a result of Maureen's podcast. The first way I want to appeal to you is to encourage you to take an introspective look. That is, just take time out from your work, your busy life, whatever you're doing, and look introspectively. What I mean by that is, are you fulfilled? How would you characterize your life? Are you happy? Where are you with positive versus negative thoughts? Do you more frequently think negative thoughts than positive thoughts? Let me ask you something that can be very devastating in a negative way. Are you judging yourself? Do you compare yourself with others? Those who do frequently compare themselves in a way where they come up short. I'm not as good as. or something of that nature. I want to encourage you to just take time alone or devote some time with a person who you consider to be a mentor, a person to whom you believe you can be accountable, a person who cares about you genuinely from the heart, a person who knows you well enough to know who you are and can appeal to you, can speak with you in very honest terms. Maureen mentioned surrender, the second appeal that I want to make to you. Are you willing to surrender whatever it is that might be driving your life, whatever it is that may be the dominant thoughts you have? There may be something that was said to or about you in the past that can evoke or provoke thoughts that help you determine some negative thoughts. They prompt negativity. They prompt those things that keep you from operating, performing at your full potential. Are you willing to surrender to whatever it is that is bringing you to that point? The third appeal I want to make to you is, I hope, as a result of Maureen's podcast, as a result of this podcast series, you're willing to intervene in a person's life. By intervening, what I mean is you're willing to listen to, you are willing to speak from the heart, you're willing to show someone you care passionately about them, and you're listening to them. You represent a safe space to them, that you're listening to them in any challenges they may have in life. And what you're doing by being a mentor, by being a friend, by being a person who cares, you can help them through the various challenges they're facing in life. And while you may not be the best person, you may be the catalyst to connect them with a person who can help them through whatever they're experiencing in life that is keeping them from operating, performing at their full potential. I want to encourage you also, if you have overcome anything in life, communicate with us. We'd like to feature you on a podcast. We want to let others know, irrespective of whatever you're encountering in life, you're not alone. Others have gone through what you are experiencing. Others have a story that someone needs to hear. Let us hear your story. Let us feature you and let others know that they're not alone. Let's be a catalyst to give hope to many people. We know many people are experiencing things that are driving their future decisions. There are latent thoughts, or those thoughts that are in the subconscious, that become the domineering, overpowering thoughts that become negative influences in our life. It's through coaching, life coaching, that we can help people overcome those negative thoughts, those things that are holding us back from performing at our full potential. Marty and I are certified life coaches through the John Maxwell Enterprise. Let's schedule a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. We can help you determine if Marty or I would be the ones to help you through anything that you're experiencing. Maureen also offers a course, a book that can help you overcome anything in life that is holding you back from your full potential. Let's work together. Let's advance people. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating on this podcast and this podcast series. We hope you'll want to engage by making comments. Let's communicate with each other. Communicate with us, Ron at thecooperculture.com or Marty at thecooperculture.com. Let's share ideas with each other. Let's talk about things that have worked, things that have not worked. The more we share and communicate with each other, the better off we will be, the better able we are to help people through various life challenges. Relationships. Maureen talked very eloquently about relationships and the benefit they are to them. Everybody needs to be connected with and have a relationship with somebody who is a positive influence in their life. It's unfortunate that sometimes we make choices of having people who do accept us, but those are the ones who take us down. We need to surround ourselves with people who are very positive in their thinking, people who generally care from the heart about us. Most important relationship in our life will be that with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Marty and I have that relationship with our Lord, and we would like to share that with you. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, I hope you'll contact us. We want to just share the fulfillment we have with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We're not here to force anything on you. We just want to share the fulfillment we have and let you know the value that Jesus Christ is to us. I'll close out by saying that everything in life has a value, and that value equates to a priority. And so where are you in the introspective look? That was the first appeal I made. Are you willing to take a look at yourself, look very deep into your soul to determine what your values are that equate to priorities? Those decisions, those factors in your life will largely be the determinant of what decisions you make. We hope you'll want to communicate with us, share with us, and allow us to interact with you, because our purpose in this podcast series is to advance people, to help everyone live their full potential. We look forward to working with you, interacting with you. Let's advance others, and let's make Jesus Christ known to those who have a passion to know Him and live that fulfilling life. Let's work together.